Safety Net with Kendell Lenice. This is a talk show where you can feel safe to share your truth. After all, we've all been through something. We all have a story to tell. Our testimonies are never for us. They're to help and inspire others to think bigger, do better, to become wiser. Through our stories and testimonies, we can help each other heal, grow, and learn from our past mistakes in order to have a brighter and better future. It's not what you've been through, it's what you've grown through. This is the Safety Net. I got you. Our live show starts now.
Hey everybody, it is Kendell Lenice, and thank you for joining the Safety Net with me, Kendell Lenice. This is a safe place where my guests can share their truth. It's all about not what you've gone through, but what you've grown through. That's the key. What lesson did you take away from whatever you've been through, and how can that help and inspire other people in that same boat? Because that's what it's about. It's about our testimonies and our stories and everything that's happened to us. It's not for us to keep secret. It's to share in order to help someone else's journey. That's what it's about. That's what I'm about. I go by the name, as you know, of Lady Motivator, and this is the Safety Net Talk Show virtual style. This is season 2. And this is episode 3. And I'm so pleased and honored to have my guest with me today, Miss Danielle. We're going to find out which last name she wants to go by, but I know her as Danielle Kinsey. She is an author. She is a mother, and she's an all-around beautiful woman. She is now a newlywed, if we still want to call her that. So I'm so pleased to have her. She's special to me, and I know I say everybody is special because everybody has a special place in my heart. So I did a show years ago called Conversations with Kendell Lenice. It was the first radio podcast / I guess visual platform that I had, and a lot of you might remember that show. But she was my very first guest on that show, and I'm so pleased that she is joining me on the Safety Net virtual edition. So without further ado, I want to introduce Danielle to the Safety Net. Thank you, Danielle.
Hi. No, thank you. You know, anytime you call, I'm here.
I appreciate you. But before we get started, I want you all to do me a favor. I want you to subscribe below, like, and share. Tell your people about my YouTube channel, Kendell Lenice. I have amazing content on there, and not just because I'm doing the shows, but because of my guests and their testimonies, their stories, their expertise. This channel is all about education, elevation, and entertainment. So hopefully I bring you that throughout your week. Don't forget, it's important to subscribe, like, and share. All right, all of the businesses out of the way, and now I want to reintroduce Danielle. Hey, girl.
Hey, let's talk.
All right. Look, I didn't know how your hair would be on this show because you switched it up.
All the time. My husband made me stop buying wigs, so I can't buy wigs for another month. But yeah, I have like 10 of them now. And since we've been stuck in the house, there's nothing for me to do, you know, so that's like my little me time after I'm dealing with the kids and my husband. So I get to like style my wigs, dye them, cut them. It's fun. Fun.
And I met you probably a decade ago as you were my client, and you had locks.
Yes, I had dreads. Yes, I had dreads.
You've been locked up.
Bald.
You've been blonde. You've been black. You've been bald. You've been short. You've been curly. You've been straight. All beautiful, but most importantly, your spirit is beautiful. I just pray, like every episode before we go in, I pray right before. Whatever is meant to come out, it comes out, and in hopes it inspires someone. And this show is no different. We're talking about infertility today. It's so important because so many women are suffering in silence. So many women think they're the only ones who want to have children but are unable. And especially in the Black community, Black women have a higher rate of infertility. And before we get into Danielle's story, I just want to read something to you quickly. Infertility is more prevalent in Black women. Some mistakenly believe that infertility is not an issue for African Americans. However, the truth is that infertility affects Black men and women in larger percentages than it does Caucasians. Further compounding this issue is that African Americans are likely to seek treatment later, which can be detrimental since the age of a woman is key to fertility. According to the National Survey of Family Growth, between 2006 and 2010, not Hispanic, Black married women were 1.8 times more likely to have infertility than Hispanic or non-Hispanic white women. My guests experience infertility, and I want to allow Danielle to tell her story.
Mm-hmm. You're so right. When I was writing the book, I was doing a lot of research about the statistics for infertility. We think that it is, and I know this is going to sound ignorant, but this is what we believe. We think it's the old woman white woman disease. It's so not. A lot of African American, a lot of young women are experiencing this, but it's taboo and no one wants to talk about it.
Right.
And
why do you think no one wants to talk about it?
In my personal opinion, in my experience, it's the isolation. You feel less than. You feel like, you know, a woman, God gives a woman, you know, the ability to have a baby naturally. So when that's compromised and it doesn't happen, you question everything. So I really feel like a lot of women are silent because they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed.
And tell me the place that society and your family members place on a woman having a baby and being able to conceive and carry their own children. Let's talk about that. I think that's for a lot of self-worth issues, and a woman is supposed to bear children, and a woman is supposed to have children, and what's wrong with you? You can't have no kids. Let's talk about that, the society and what the family puts on that.
Yeah, I was raised, you know, by old school Black mama, and I was constantly told by 30 you should be married and have children. That was pushed in my mind, shoved in there for so long. So I didn't think it was any other way. You know, I was married by 21, and I tried to have a baby shortly after that because that's what I believe was right. I was supposed to get married and have children. So that was really, really big.
In that order.
Mm-hmm, in that order. And unfortunately, it's still like that. You meet a lot of women who's going to say, you know, it's not done by 30, then I don't want it.
Yeah. And you were living and raised in a religious background and getting married, having children, raising a family. How traditional was that in your home?
Oh my goodness. It was the way. It was the only way. You are to be the Stepford wife. You are to be the God-fearing woman. You are to be in church. You're supposed to be the submissive wife in public. Your husband's supposed to be everything. He's supposed to be the leader, the controller, everything, every stereotype of an old Baptist woman. You know, it was my household, and it was so funny because farther from the truth. My mom did not run our household like that. She was in charge of everything, but in public, my father was definitely the king. She definitely looked like a traditional woman.
Yeah. And I had a radio station, and Danielle's platform, she had a channel on my radio station. And you had an exciting and amazing platform where sometimes your mom came through with her opinion.
You know, she still talks about that to this day. You know, she wants to do it again. And I said, Mom, you know, we're going to do it. We're going to get there. But she loved it. You know, it was a time when she was sick, and that gave her so much purpose. And she really enjoyed that. So it's funny that you mentioned that. But that show was a blast. It was a blast.
Wow. Well, I'm working on some things, so you and your mama might have a chance to do your show again. Because I remember what you said to me. You remember what you said to me.
I remember.
Like you were like, if you do it, I'm all in. And
that's still staying.
What you say?
That still stays. Me and Pastor June would be there. But I
All
told
right,
her
so
she needs to be the co-host. I'm the host. She's the co-host though.
all right, so we're definitely going to talk about that a little later. But this time, it's all about you and your story and what you've been through and how your story has helped you and your story has inspired and helped others. But before we get into the story, I don't want to forget this later on. And I know sometimes, you know, as we have conversations, we can get involved in a conversation. So I want to first allow the people to connect with you. How can they connect to you on social media? And I want you to hold up both of your books on infertility. Then we're going to go right into your story.
Yes, all my handle names are Danielle Q Kinsey. You said I can show my books now?
Yes.
Yes. So this is the first book, Journey to Destiny, Traveling Through Infertility. It's on Amazon. Just Google it. This is the second book, The Purpose Woman, the next chapter. I tell people if they want to purchase it, to contact me personally. I have copies in my home. I can mail them out. They can get to you faster than if you order them online. But this is also available on Amazon. And the name of this book is The Purpose Woman, the next chapter. I only have the last chapter.
It's a compilation.
Yes, it's a compilation. And my chapter is Shattered Glass, which is the number 4 and the last one. So I'm excited because I got to stick to the routine with the second book. You know, I love using my poetry in my work. So I got a chance to have a poem to start that chapter like the first book. So I'm really excited about that. And I think I want to keep that momentum going in any book that I publish in the future.
Awesome, because we're doing it differently. This is virtual style. So at any time, if I freeze, I need you to do me a favor and just hold your finger up. And then I know, and then we can go from there because I want to make sure it's cohesive. I want to make sure you can hear me, and I want to make sure we don't speak over each other because this is a whole new thing. I mean, I love it. I love it, you know. It has its challenges, but as long as you're heard, that's the most important thing. All right, so let's talk about your journey with infertility because I don't want to talk about children yet until we talk about the journey and what happened, what that did to your body, what that did to your mind, your spirit, your faith, all of that. So let's talk about that. So tell the folks about your journey with infertility.
Yeah, well, it started officially when I turned 21 because I was married at 21, and maybe not even a month after the wedding, we were in the fertility clinic. We were together 5 years prior. I was 16, so I knew that something was probably wrong because, like I said, we've been together for those 5 years. I was 16 when I met my first husband, and I was very young, and I knew something was probably wrong because we never, gotten pregnant beforehand. So as soon as it was legal and, I could sign my name on the dotted line, we went right to that fertility clinic. So what was so frustrating about my infertility is called unexplained infertility, right? I'm 21, fairly healthy. I had a history of diabetes and blood pressure when I was a little bit heavier. So those were issues, but they wasn't big factors. It wasn't enough to stop me from getting pregnant. So what was so frustrating about my infertility, it was unexplained. And in hindsight, I believe that, I thought it was a punishment. And when I think about it now, I truly believe God was just telling me, not right now. And you got a little bit of growing to do. And this might not be the person that you want to build a family with, but you know how it is. When we want it, and we want it now. So I was determined to get pregnant when I wanted to. So I spent years going to at least 7 years going through the whole ordeal. But back and forth to the doctors for that long. I did take a couple breaks in between. One time it was a whole year. I had to take a break because my ex-husband and I, he had epilepsy. So we were going through so much with his health, we was forced to take a break. So we did have a couple breaks, actively trying within those 7 years, but for the most time, we tried for that long. So, yeah.
Wow. So for 7 years, you gotten married young. You wanted to start a family right away. That was the tradition. That's what you knew. You get married, you have children, you live happily ever after. Your happily ever after is coming with someone else, other than your first husband. And you talked about we want what we want. And sometimes God has to pause us, but we all bullheaded. Come on, we want to do it. This is the time. But we know that God is the best planner. So for 7 years, you tried to get pregnant. So what was that like emotionally? What did that do to you as a woman? How did that make you feel?
Oh my goodness. I already had some insecurity issues because I was a lot heavier. And I definitely grew up in a time, I don't know if you can relate. I know we're not that far apart, but I know growing up in my generation, all the guys, they wanted that, slim, thick, light skin, red bone. And I grew up in a generation where my beauty or my darkness and my size, it wasn't appreciated. So I definitely had some insecurities when it came to that. And I think the infertility just brought up all those concerns, all those issues. Not only that, my substance abuse, being molested as a child, all of those things surfaced because of that infertility journey. So I'm thankful for it, because I don't think that I would ever have dealt with it openly, if I did not go through the infertility. So
so you talked about substance abuse, you talked about molestation, and you talk about infertility. That trilogy right there is a lot. It's a lot to bear. Low self-esteem, wondering if you're beautiful because you're a beautiful color brown, and should you be a different color, and just feeling less than. And in the Black community, that really bugs me. For someone to tell me that I'm light-skinned, they think almost as if it's a compliment. Yeah. And it's the craziest thing. That's not something that I own as a part of who I am. You get what I'm saying? But it's almost as if it's a strong adjective of power for people to say, oh, like somebody recently told me, I didn't realize you were that light skinned back in the day or a few years ago, as if it was a compliment. And I ignore stuff like that. So I get what you're saying. And colorism in the Black community, that's a whole nother show. I think I'm going to have a panel just about that alone. And I'll invite you back for that, because that's a whole lot. So I understand what you're saying. So if you have all of that swirling in your head as a woman, and then now something else, you can't have a baby, what was that doing? Did that make you even drink more? Did that make your self-esteem lower? Did you feel more less than? Like, what was that time like for you?
It was cruel. Every little thing bothered me. At the time, I had young sister-in-laws. And they were getting pregnant, having babies, my own cousins. And I'm the only child, so my cousins are like sisters to me. So I had my little cousin. Everyone was having the baby but me. And so, if you're married for a while, okay, you live in a Black family, they're like, what's going on? Why are you the only one not having the baby? So not only do I have to deal with my personal pain with it, my family asking questions, and I'm being looked at like, oh, poor thing, she needs help. So it was just cruel. At one time I had to stop going to baby showers. I stopped going to church. I didn't do anything but work, come home, watch reality TV. And so I dealt with substance abuse, not the drinking. So I dealt with huffing. Anybody who do not know what that is, that's when you inhale substances. And it's so important that I love to talk about this, because
like Lysol, detergent,
yes, whiteout, oil sheen, anything with toxins, anything that can get you high, blacked out. Sorry. So yes, I dealt with that.
And I want you to tell the audience what that is again. You said huffing.
It's called huffing, yes. And what you do, and I described it in one of the scenes in my first book. So what I would do, I would run to, I started off when I was young, really young. And like I said, I was the only child and I had a lot of time to myself in the house. And so what I write about in the book, I would go run into the bathroom, lock the door. I would go into the linen closet. I would have my old tennis shoe strategically hidden in the closet. I would go get my hair sheen. I cannot remember the name of the hair sheen, but y'all know what it is.
Was it Isoplus? Was it Isoplus?
That's exactly what it was, in the blue can. In the blue.
That was, I'm telling you, every black girl has some Isoplus, even starting from the 80s and coming up.
And look how easy that is to get access to. So I would go in the bathroom, get my tennis shoe and the hair sheen. I would sit on the toilet. I would put my tennis shoe the hairspray in it until I blacked out, and it numbed me. And as crazy as it sounds, it's very scary. You know, when I was doing it, I would want to do it and it would help me, but during the actual process, I would fear for my life. I would say, "Oh my God, if I keep doing this, I'm gonna die. I'm feeling crazy." So I knew the dangers of it, but nothing stopped me because that's the only thing I knew, how to numb what I was going through. Yeah. And I always
it's interesting.
Yeah. I was always looked at as being the strong one, the leader. So I show myself as weak or ask for help or tell someone what I was, dealing with, why I was doing that. So I felt the pressure of being what everyone perceived me to be, the strong, crazy, funny one, the one that kept everyone in line, kept everything going, and could take care of everybody, but couldn't take care of myself. So
now you were a part of my women's conference, Glean, and I talk about this with another guest, a safety net guest, Glean, grow, learn, elevate, admire, and mentor. And you were an amazing guest. You were on a roll that day. I mean, sharing your story. And I say all that to say, I've never heard you publicly talk about huffing. I know it's in your book, but I've never heard you talk about that. And I think it's so important. The first time I was introduced to that was a intern at my job years ago, and she said that she sniffed laundry detergent. And I think it's so important for the mothers out there to really pay attention to your children, to see if they're acting different, acting weird, talking about different things, asking you maybe to buy things that you normally don't buy, and really pay attention. So I'm glad, Danielle, you're talking about that. So I want you to continue. And you said you got high from that. So at that point, it was numbing. She says substance abuse. And, even for a second, I was like, okay, alcohol, was it this? Because those are the most common.
Yeah, no one ever talks about that. And so like you said, I do actually talk about it a lot publicly. When I go talk to I have been to a number of group homes and situations like that. And I love to talk about it because so many kids do it. And they need someone to say, "Oh my God, she went through that. I can get out of that. I don't have to be ashamed." So that's my big thing about that is I don't want a young girl and a young boy feel so ashamed, because it's not what you hear about all the time. It's looked at as, I think drug use is looked down upon anyway, but huffing, I think a lot of people look like, what? Like, why would you do that? That's crazy. So every chance I get now, especially me having children, I definitely talk about it, and working with my students, talk about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you do work with kids. You work for the Baltimore County school system. So I know that you see and recognize a lot of things. And, you having this experience, molestation as a child, and you dealing with, colorism issues and weight, and dealing with all of the things you deal with. How does that allow you to be a better educator?
Because I'm honest. I'm like, they're like, oh, there go Miss Kinsey. She gonna tell us like it is. I am. I do not mind getting down, dropping tears, talking about everything. I just feel like transparency is the best thing for us. Is the best thing for healing. And I think that helps me as being educated. They can relate to me. You know, they know that I'm gonna be honest with them, that I'm gonna push them. And a lot of times people think that school is just school. Our children come in there, a lot of them don't have parents. A lot of them, they're in group homes, they're living with grandparents who are older. They done raised their children, they're tired, they can't really pay attention the way that a parent would do that's younger and more energy. They come in there so broken. So before we can even teach them, a lot of times we have to heal them to get them to the point where they're open enough to learn. So, I think it helps me. Me being me helps me being an educator. The kids can relate to me. They don't have to be ashamed. They don't have to be ashamed.
Yeah.
Even if I can't read, that's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to do it together. I can't pronounce his words. Okay, we're going to start with SM. We're going to do it. So, open book.
And I love that. And I think that's so important. And now we're in a time of quarantine. And you're not at school.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with that situation? Because now you have your own, school at home, and then you're not able to really connect with those children who really need you.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with some of those children? And then we're going to get back to the infertility, but you working in the school system, you working in a high school, talking to children, caring about you. What do you think this quarantine is doing with those children who don't have that outlet?
Oh, I'm so, just like a lot of my co-workers, everyone's so worried. Everyone's really worried about them. How are they going to eat? That was one of my first things before anyone started talking about me.
Yeah.
I work at an alternative school, and it's nothing for a kid to come in there and say, I'm hungry. They can come there at 10 o'clock late and say, Miss Kinsey, I'm so hungry, and we have to go eat before we can start, teaching them. So that was my biggest thing. I thought about the kids that are abused verbally. Wow, what's going to happen to them? They're going to be okay. So, and it's something that still keep me up at night. I'm able to contact some of them through Schoolology, and I leave them messages, and I was surprised how many I actually got back. So they are able to communicate with me on a more personal level outside of us going over an assignment. So Schoology is a great way to do that, but unfortunately all the kids don't have access to it, or they don't have a parent that's going to say, get on there. So I think that I'm going to be worried about that, and any other educator that's worked there, Wait and Go, they're going to be worried about that until it's over, until we can be back in the classroom.
Yeah. And I pray that they're okay and they're not, but we know what they're going through. We know what happens in some of these households. And like you said, some of them are getting abused. Some of them are not eating. Some of them are being neglected and ignored. Someone is not going over the homework that's supposed to be gone over and really taking their education seriously. So we know, and I pray when schools open back up, they have those other parents and those are teachers. So I just want to shout out to all the educators out there during this quarantine time and beyond. My daughter is a junior in college, and she's going to school to be a teacher. She has been in the schools. Yeah, she's already, she's like this big, but she has been in the schools teaching thus far. So shout out to all the educators and all the people who, find that to be the highlight of their lives and the children, passionate about the children that they're affecting, because we know we can all choose our favorite teacher and still, even at this age, my favorite teacher, I always talk about how Flora Parker out of Florida, she taught me in the 5th grade in Jersey. I loved her and she loved me to the point she wanted me to, live with her and stay with her. And even when I wrote my first book in 2005, I sent her the book And she was like, I already knew. So shout out to all the teachers who see the beauty in the brains in all of us. But anytime I can get a chance to shout out my favorite teacher, I'm doing it. Yeah. All right. So we're going to get back on the infertility track, if you will. So it took you 7 years to get pregnant. So during that 7th year, what was that like, and how did you discover you were pregnant, and what happened prior to you even getting pregnant yourself?
Okay. So now, before I officially became a mom, I had miscarriages. So I would get pregnant, but I wouldn't hold them for long, and I was back to the IVF clinic. I started, I can't remember what year it was when I said no more. That last miscarriage was so bad. By that time, my marriage was over before our first child came. It took a toll on everything. Everything was depleted. I was depleted. My marriage was depleted. I couldn't do it anymore. And so I can't do this. Can't put my body through this anymore. And I went to go do the paperwork. Actually, went to go do the paperwork. Went to go to the classes, and I would not follow up with home study. I don't think that I was ready to actually do the step. Maybe 2 months after that initial time when I went to go to the classes, I said, I'm going to follow up with this. I'm going to follow up with this. I have to. I feel like in my heart there is a child waiting for me. I started to, I had a mentor at the time. She, prayer partner. She was I call her, she's a bishop, and Bishop Chantal. And that lady spoke life to me. Of course, I still was worrying. But after she spoke that over me, I said, I'm going to follow up with the adoption. And I did. So I actually had to take the class again, and I had to go through the home study. When I say everything ran like water, it ran so smoothly. Okay. So they told me after everything was done, home study and everything, they said, and I wanted a girl. So they said it was going to be about 2 years before you get an infant girl. And I was like, oh, well, I waited this long. I might as well wait. And I speak about that in my book. I would have this dream of holding this girl, and it was a fair complected little girl with a bushy ponytail. And my first husband was fair skinned. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's our baby. And he had bushy hair. And I'm like, yep, that's my baby. So I held on to that dream because I had it since I was 18 years old. So
wow.
Yeah, so in my mind, I was like, I told the lady, I need a girl, an infant girl. And she said, okay, you're going to be waiting. I said, that's fine. I went to Ross. I talked about this in the book too. So after all that was over, and let me tell you, everything, that man knew my ex-husband. So we didn't really have a home study. He walked in our house. He said, Dion, is this you? And I'm looking like, you know him? He said, yeah, my father grew up with him. So he didn't even do the study. He said, well, let me show you how to manage the water pressure and the heat. And he did that. And he said, okay, tell your dad I said hello. And he was gone. When I say it went so smooth, it went smooth.
Wow.
So 2 months, not 2 years, 2 months to that home visit, I got a phone call. The lady said, listen, I have a baby. I said, oh, well, you had my baby. Bring my baby. She said, but it's a boy. I said, I know you remember, maybe it was 2011. Remember we had that big snowstorm? Was it 2011? Well, it was a snowstorm. And let me go back a little bit. I wanted to talk about Ross, one of the stories in the book. So
you broke up a little. You broke up a little bit. Did I freeze it all at any? I'm just doing a check.
No.
Has it been smooth? Okay. Because you said boy, and I just want to make sure you said it wasn't a girl, it was a boy, because it broke up a little bit on my. Okay, I just wanted them to hear that. Okay.
Yeah, it was a boy. And so the Ross story, like I said, which is in the book, I would go to Ross. Ross has been my favorite store forever. I still love Ross. Okay.
You can't go now, sis. You can't go now.
I miss it so bad. I miss it. But Amazon has been taking all my money, so it's okay. I was like, let's go to Ross. I want to go shopping. I'm stressed. And I love shopping for baby clothes. And up until that day, I always shop for the girl baby clothes because I had a whole chest and everything. And I would have girl things in it. But this day, we were in the store, and Clear's Day, something said, buy boy clothes. So I'm looking around, and Dion's like, what's wrong with you? I said, I don't know if I'm going crazy. Maybe this is in my mind. Maybe it's God. But something just said, buy boy stuff. And of course, I took control of everything. He didn't really care. So he's like, oh, okay, let's go get the boy stuff. So we go over to the baby section, and they had so many boy things on sale. I mean, I stacked up. This is not. And so I went home, all that stuff in my whole chest. That lady called me about 2 months after that home visit and said that she had a baby ready for me, and it was a boy. And I said, oh, that's my baby. Bring my baby.
Wow.
He bought my baby, and he's been here ever since. So Troy is my oldest. So he introduced me to motherhood.
How old is he? How old is Troy?
Oh, I don't know why I felt tears. He's going to be 11. He's going to be 11 in July. Oh, I can't believe it's been that long, but he'll be 11, and he's my big boy. He's a good boy. He's a lot like me. I think that's why we don't get along a lot, but he's a lot like me. But
See,
I'm.
And I met you when you just had him. I met you when you just had him.
Okay.
He was a baby when I met him. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
So did he come with the name Troy? Did you give him the name Troy? How old was he when you got him?
6 months. His adoption was not finalized until he was 3. So legally, we couldn't change his name. So by the time he turned 3, we wasn't going to change his name. It was Troy. That was his name. But I wanted Samuel. The story of Samuel. I wanted his name to be Samuel. But God knew best. And so it was Troy. Like I said, it wasn't finalized till he was 3. And that was a whole, I talk about that in the book too. That was so hard because a process that we thought was going to be easy with him because he was drug exposed, because he did not have any family that had any contact with him, and he was given up right at birth. We thought it was going to be easy. We were told that it was going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
A year passed, and his biological mother asked for a visit. So you can imagine a young couple who didn't have a baby, and someone was telling us someone wants to see your son. His mother wants to come and visit with him, and that went on and off for 2 years. But we get pregnant as my second baby came. So I did my last IVF. Maybe Troy, we had him for about 2 months, and we had one more left. And at first I wasn't going to do it because I said, look, I'm tired of the miscarriages. I had my son. I just even though it was not official, the adoption didn't go through as of yet, I knew that was my baby. So I said, let me just give him.
How many miscarriages you have up to that point?
4. Let's say 4 before Destiny. And I had one after her. But yeah, 4 before Destiny. And so that we wasn't going to do the last IVF. I didn't want to do it. Troy was there. We were happy. Was getting into a routine. And I think, but the fighter in me was like, oh, I'm going to do that last one. I'm not going to give that up. I'm going to fight to the end. I'm going to fight to the end. And I did. I got myself together. And that time I had a small support group, but pretty strong support. I had my mom, my dad, my ex's mother was right involved. I had 2 good friends. So, my circle was tight and it was in place. So I told everyone what I was planning on doing, and everyone was like, we got you. And so we went, and this is the most amazing part. I think every part of my infertility story is the amazing part, but this part to me, I think it's special because my faith played such a big role in the birth of Destiny. So she was the last IVF, and so when we did the pregnancy test, it was positive. We wouldn't let ourselves get really excited because of the past, but it was something special about this one. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I felt something special with her.
Yeah.
We went to go take the test, and of course they said, when I went to take the second test, they said, look, your HGC or HCG levels, they're not doubling. They're supposed to double every couple of days, and they was not.
What is that? What is that? HGC?
That's the hormone we produce when we get pregnant.
Okay.
And pregnancy, anything over 5 is a pregnancy. Now, if it doubles, let's say we're going, next couple of days, and it's double to a 10, then it's pretty valuable. They keep on the World of Infertility. All the women who've been through IVF know what I'm talking about. So, we went through the testing, and of course the numbers was not doubling, and I actually started spotting at that time. So, in my mind, I knew that it was a possibility we will lose, but I wouldn't. Something in me wouldn't accept that. So the doctors asked me to do something called a twilight abortion. So that's when, they go in and basically, they give you something to miscarry and clean out your uterus and you start again. And I was like, nope. If it's not going to happen, then let it do it. Is it
almost like a DNC? Is it like a DNC?
Yeah, I was told that it was like, since it was early on, they actually could have given me a pill. I wouldn't need a DNC because I was so early on that pill.
Gotcha.
And they wanted to hurry up and do it because once it progressed and it wasn't viable, wasn't the pregnancy, it would have been harder. So they tried to, they were doing their job. In all reality, they were doing what any medical doctor would suggest. Their priority is the safety of the patient. In your body, of course, that is not great. They were doing their job. But what they didn't know was that I knew a doctor and I was not giving up. So weeks was passing and I was still spotting. I was still, actually, it was a little bit more than spotting. So I was like, oh, this thing. Yeah, I said, this thing.
That's one of those babies right there. This is live. That's one of the babies right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the oldest one. Be quiet. Boys, they want to eat all the time. Yeah. So with Destiny, the doctor office, they were stalking me at that time. Like, you got to get rid of this. I stopped talking to him. I had cut off all communication. I said, Jesus is going to take care of this one. I'm not doing that. And so even when it looked crazy, I would not give up. But one day, we was at Walmart, and I remember feeling like something's wrong. I had this tightening in my chest, and I said, you know what? In my mind, I said, doctor told me that this could make me sick. So we went to St. Agnes and did all the blood work. The lady came in there and said, well, the only thing we see right now is you're pregnant. And I'm like, so I had to act surprised, but I knew that. And she told me the numbers. I asked, and she probably looked at me crazy. I said, what is my HCG numbers? And she was like, Yeah, why would she ask that? And I just said, and he was a quiet person. Even he was like, can you please tell us the numbers? She told us the numbers.
Wow.
She said 30,000. We both looked at each other like, I said, okay, thank you. You know, just give me my papers. I'll follow up with my OB. So that's what I did.
Wow.
Follow up with my OB. And not even the infertility people. I left them out of it. So I called my doctor. And even though she knew that I was trying to have a baby, I said, I'm pregnant and I need to come in for a test. She didn't ask any questions. She let me come in. We did the test. So when she did my numbers, the numbers were only like 32. I said, wow, this still is not good. It was supposed to be 60. So she said, well, you know what? We're going to do a second test and see if it doubled. And if it doesn't, we know that it's not valuable. At that time, it's been over 2 months since I had that procedure. So we get the test back. She said, I'm sorry, numbers didn't double. It's not valuable. She said, we need to do an ultrasound to see how far along it is, to see how we need to clean you out. She said, I think we're going to need a DNC. I said, okay. In that moment, I think I gave up. In that moment, I'm like, you know what? I tried. So I agreed to do the ultrasound so we can figure out how to dispel of, the embryo or the fetus at that point. So that day I had told my ex-husband, I said, I took him to work. So I said, go to work. I can handle this myself. I'm going to just go get the ultrasound. If I need a DNC, I can do. By that time, I was a whole pro. My mom had Troy. I said, hey, I wanted to try, and I did. I have him. It's okay. So I kept that man. So that kept me strong. So I got in the room and got on the table. And she started to put the jelly on my belly to see what was in there so we can know, if we needed to do a DNC. So I was strong the whole time. I was like, oh, I got this. As soon as that lady put that, y'all need to be quiet. Yes, give me. Soon as that lady put that jelly on me and put that ultrasound, my eyes shut. I got scared. I said, oh, Lord, I wish somebody did come with me. I'm a little scared. And so my eyes was tight. And the first thing I heard was boom, 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 boom. My eyes flew open. My baby girl was 13 weeks at that time, flipping over, doing cartwheels. And all I could do was praise God. I'm like, thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. The lady just took the little thing. She wiped it off. She set it down. She said, I'm going to let you have your moment. You go ahead. And I had my moment. And and I got myself together. She said, you was coming in here to see, to see how we were going to get rid of. I said, yeah. But my baby was in there. She was 13. It was the first day of my first trimester. Guys, you have to be quiet.
So tell the people what she's a mom. So that's what you wanted, girl.
That's what I wanted.
So tell the people what destiny looks like. Because I think that's amazing. Tell them what destiny looks like or who she looks like.
She's fair complected with bushy hair. She was that dream that I've been having since I was 8 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
I finally got to meet the girl of my dreams.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. She is the girl of your dreams. And when I saw, see a picture of her and you post her, it just really makes me smile because you talk about this in your book. You talk about this, when you go speak. So I think that that's amazing. And that you were about to terminate the pregnancy per your doctors because it wasn't viable. It didn't take. But then you have the girl of your dreams. So tell the folks how many children you have after that fertility journey.
I actually had, and I want people to know just how big of a miracle destiny is. My water broke at 25 weeks. I was in St. Agnes for 30 days, laying on my back to hold her. She did come out at 28 weeks, 6 days. And that's a blessing. She was 2 pounds by then. She was still so small and a micro preemie, but fast forward, you wouldn't even know that she had to go through any of that. But yes, so I had 3 now. So go figure. I adopted. I went through infertility treatments for the second one, and the third one came naturally. I can't tell. When I tell people, they're like, "What? You go through all that and you get past that?" I did. And the crazy part about it, we were going through a separation at the time, and we was unsure where we were going. And we had her, and for what it was worth, I thank God for Tyler, because I feel like she healed things so we could move apart, if that makes sense. For the pregnancy and for her birth, it was such a beautiful, compared to what we went through with the first two, it was such a beautiful birth story, something like in a fairy tale book. And I don't know, ladies my age, it used to be a show called Baby Story. And I used to watch that show.
Oh, I remember. It had a wedding story and baby story.
They made birthing look so beautiful. And Tyler birth was that beautiful. It was so surprising. Even though we wasn't at a good place, it was such a beautiful experience. I did pack the babies up when that baby was 6 months, and we moved on to our own home, and the marriage was officially over at that time. But her birth, the pregnancy and her birth, was really, really beautiful. And I think it healed a piece of me and a piece of him, to kind of give us not a reward for what we have been through, but it was kind of bittersweet. It was like, you guys been through the ringer together. It's not going to work out, but you get this beautiful baby, but all the hard work. So it was bittersweet.
It completed the journey in that chapter. It completed that chapter.
It did. It really did.
Wow. So when you look at your three beautiful gifts, and as we hear your three beautiful gifts, you had them in three different ways. Like you said, adoption, IVF, and naturally. When you look at those three gifts, and as we approach Mother's Day is every day, I like to say. But what goes through your mind when you look at your children?
Oh man, when I look at them, when I look at them and I think of Mother's Day, I look at them like, you owe me everything. Like, you make sure it's perfect for me, okay? You don't even know what I had to go through. Well, they know. I tell them all the time. I know the story. All Destiny did it the worst, because I'm like, Destiny, I had to lay on my back for 30 days for you, girl. I couldn't wipe my booty. I couldn't do nothing, So, no. But I look at them, and honestly, the tears keep coming today. But when I think of them, oh man, I don't even know. That they're definitely the sweet part of my life, and they give me so much purpose. They don't give me all my purpose, but they give me so much purpose. And as a mother, you grow with them. I don't even know how many lessons that I've learned in motherhood, and that has changed me so that I can change their lives. Everything I went through, when it comes to the insecurity or the drug use, I'm so open with my kids, and I'm like, you have a mother who has been there. I will hold your hand. You don't have to hide. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get through it. And I know that if I did not go through all of that, I probably would have raised my children. Not to say my mom raised me. She did the best that she could. But she definitely raised me in a time where, you were seen and I heard. And I know that if I did not go through what I did, that I probably would raise my children the same way. Don't get it twisted. I'm still old Black mama, but
each generation learns, and they get better and better. Not to say nothing was wrong with the previous generation, but each generation is supposed to move. That's how it's supposed to flow. Everybody's just supposed to just move the legacy forward and get better and better and better.
Yeah. So, they're everything. I love those. I call them three rugrats.
So as we come to the end of the show, you are a newlywed.
I'm a newlywed.
Right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And are more babies on the schedule?
No. Well, I want more babies. I want more babies, but my husband is very much, I never had that in my life. Never had anyone that was a leader and a provider. Someone that can be like, Let me just sit down for a minute. So I would love to have more babies, but he's like, oh, honey, this don't make sense. We have 4 children. We got to get them through college. Let's just focus our energy on something else. But I'm all for having more children.
Okay, so but you need your husband. So
I do need my husband. So I'm gonna be happy with the 4 we have, and we're gonna just continue to live better. Yeah.
No. I think that's awesome, and you are an amazing mother. And if God sees fit, maybe you will. You know, God has a way of changing the minds and hearts. So
we know it. And when you tell God your plan, He laughs at it. And so I know what it means to just be open to what He has for you, and not just be so concentrated on what you want. And the good thing about God, oh my goodness, good thing about Him is that even though we may not need what we want, sometimes He allows us to get what we want. And I think about that when I think about my children. I know that they probably wasn't what I needed at the time, because I had so many things I had to work on myself. But He loved me so much that He wanted me to have what I want. And it's been a struggle trying to raise them and heal at the same time and deal with my own issues in life. But I think that if I did not become a mother, that it wouldn't have motivated me as much as I'm motivated now to live the best way that I know how. And I know that I only do that for them.
Wow. I thank you so much, Danielle, for sharing, as you always do. You're always candid. You're always transparent. I think that that's so very important, not to tell people your business or so somebody can get in your tea, but it's really about healing and growth and being able to pass your story along to inspire other people. I'm all for sharing the tea when it comes to that, because there's a woman out there right now going through infertility. So in about 30 seconds, just give that woman and that husband or that man words of encouragement if they're trying to conceive a child and they're unable to do it at this time, or they've gone through a 7-year patch like you. What would you tell that person to inspire them?
Live. I talk about that in my book. I think that was the 3rd chapter, when I had to come to terms with maybe not even becoming a mother, because there's so many women that go through this journey and they're not blessed like I am, and they're able to leave infertility with the reward. A lot of women do not. They do not have children. So what I tell people, because of that truth, I tell people to live. I went to a therapist in the middle of all of this to get the piece that I needed to move on if I had to. And she, what were you going to do if you never had children? And I said, well, I never thought about it, because I want to have kids. She said, well, what if it does not happen? And I said, I don't know. I kept looking at her. She kept looking at me, and I was trying to get out of it. She made me answer it. She said, what are you going to do? I said, well, live, I guess. She said, you guess? That's exactly what you're going to do. So that probably was the best advice anyone could give me at that time. And I would tell whoever's going through it to live live outside of infertility, live outside of, you working so desperately to get that baby, whatever that might look like. If that means traveling, if that means enjoying your spouse, if that means, whatever that means, live. That means going to Barnes & Noble, sitting on the floor and reading, drinking a coffee. Do that. Live every day. Make it count. Because the reality of the situation that sometimes it don't work. So what are you going to do? And there's other ways to become a mom. You can adopt. You can, mentor. So live.
I love that. And in the words of Danielle, live and make it count. And that is so true. So if you want to have a baby and you're struggling with infertility, whether it's fibroids, endometriosis, whether you've had any other disease or ailment or concern dealing with the inability to have children, in the meantime, just live and make it count. Because what's for you is always going to be for you. And if it's in God's plan and his will for you to have children, doggone it, you're going to have your children. Like Danielle said, even if you can't have them through your body in the natural way, you can still adopt and you can still mother the children around you, because everybody needs a mom. I'm everybody's mom. And it's so many people. So even though I have children naturally, I have a lot of other children that I did not give birth to, and it's still so rewarding, and the joy is still there. So consider all of your options, but don't give up on life. You gotta live. Thank you so much, Danielle, for being an amazing guest as always. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching The Safety Net with Kendell Lenice. It's not what you've been through, it's what you've grown through. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to bring this third episode of The Safety Net virtual to you. Remember, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Don't be selfish. Tell your people about this amazing show, especially if they are dealing with infertility issues. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, God bless, peace, and remember, you are a star, so don't allow anyone to dim that shine. See you later, Danielle.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. God bless.